I commend you for sure for seeing that and knowing that, you want to cash out on the value that you've built to date, but also put it in the hands of someone who, can work with these key partners and help them achieve that long-term vision and want to, have that type of role in the organization. It's always the right people, the right places, create the right results.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cashing Out, brought to you each week by Hoban Law. I'm Dan Humiston, and with me today is my co-host, Dena Jalbert from Align Business Advisory Services. Hey, Dena.
Hey, Dan. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
So we're back from an exhausting week in Las Vegas.
Indeed.
The trade show was over the top. There were so many people. It's just...
So many people. I was pretty impressed with the sheer volume of folks, and I was really impressed by the breadth of the different types of organizations and businesses and people that were there. It was definitely a good subset of what that industry or what this industry is going to continue to do and have to offer.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what really blew my mind was how fast the industry is growing and how rising tide raises all ships. But one of the speakers said something to me that it's the first time I heard this, and I said, you're right. He was just doing the valuations of different companies. And he said, we got to stop worrying about other companies taking over our companies, like big farm and big tobacco and big alcohol. Yep. He goes, it's going to be the other way around. Cannabis and cannabis valuations are so much higher than those companies. We're going to be buying them. They better be worried about us. Yep. And I was like, holy cow, this industry is exploding. It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I think we're going to see it both ways. I think the wave right now is definitely, and hence our doing this series is, I think the consolidation is coming to the industry to start. But then once those organizations hit scale, it's off to the races.
I know, and we haven't even begun because Canada just came on. United States eventually won't be that long after, but we got the rest of the world. We don't even think about Europe and all these other companies. All this is happening at the same place, and it's because we're sort of locked in the United States. We're like, what's happening here? It's happening everywhere.
Everywhere, totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's jump into it today because everyone, I'm sure, hopefully, people are anxious to find out who's going to be the first company that we're selling on Cashing Out.
Yeah.
The idea is a great idea, but it was more challenging than, I expected to find companies that would want to take a chance on it the first time out. There wasn't really no proof of concept. And, I was like, I'm not positive how this is going to go. So didn't have a lot of takers. I think first time around, I have a feeling that next time around, we're going to get tons of takers for the next time. But for this sale, I guess it's going to be me. We're going to sell. Yeah, I know. I'm going to be your guinea pig. My company, OG Ventures, which you probably don't know it because it's a holding company, but you would know the name of the company that OG Ventures owns 50% of the Cannabis World Congress Business Expo, CWCB Expo, which I started back in 2014. So we're going to sell our 50% ownership stake in that company. So that's the first company that we're selling.
Yes. And thank you for pulling me in to help you do that. I'm excited. I'm excited to do this. And I think you're right. I think that after we take them through your journey, Dan, we're going to have folks lined up to be the next series that we do on this. So it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So I'm going to let you take it away, co-host. Yeah. You can start asking the questions.
Fantastic. So to that end, you were just mentioning a bit about how and why you started the show. Maybe take us back to the beginning and tell us your story, how you started it to where you are today and your journey. That's always the first thing people want to know is your story.
I was in the indoor tanning business for about most of my life, 30 years. And that industry was coming to an end and I could see it. So I was interested in this industry. MJBulls had a show in Seattle. 2013. And at that show, they had about 20 tabletops there. And I said, oh my gosh, there's an opportunity here. So I quickly formed a company and talked to another one of my colleagues in the tanning industry to join me. And the two of us did a trade show in Las Vegas. I think we were the first cannabis trade show ever in Las Vegas. We did it at the Hard Rock Convention Center. And, it was a challenge. Maybe 30 exhibitors there, and a lot of them couldn't even pay us. But a lot of those 30 now have like 40 by 40 at the last show. I mean, these companies were some of the beginning companies and have all shot up, and it's been great for them. But
yeah,
we knew this was a good idea. So I quickly rented out the Marriott Marquis in Manhattan, right at Times Square. It was such a cool location. We overlooked Times Square, and we did our second show at the Marriott Marquis, and it was great. Everybody loved it. And at that show, I was approached by some people that worked for a company called H.A. Bruno. And H.A. Bruno is one of the most recognized names in the trade show industry. It's a family-owned company. The Iannuzzis own it, and they've been in the trade show industry for, I don't know, say 40 or 50 years. They've owned some of the biggest shows in the world, and they approached me about buying or become a partner with us. And so, long story short, we ended up cutting a deal with them. They bought 50% of the company from me, and we moved the operation from my offices in Buffalo to their offices in Paramus, New Jersey, and they took over managing the company. And I continued to work remotely from Buffalo. We got into the Javits Center, which is the convention center in Manhattan, big convention center. We locked in on a lease there, and then we also locked in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Convention Center. We decided to move from Las Vegas because there's no reason to compete. And
right.
Los Angeles was wide open, so we opened up and we did a show in Los Angeles. So we've been in New York. I think we're coming up on our 6th year at these shows, and then 2 years ago we added Boston to the mix. So 3 shows every year, and every year keeps growing.
Fantastic. That's quite a journey. Tell me a little bit about some of the mechanics of a trade show. Why is it such a great business? Why does it work?
Well, it's an interesting business. The barriers to entry are a lot greater than most people realize because you need a lot of money up front, mostly because your exhibitors, especially in cannabis, are slow pay. So you're usually paying up your expenses up front, and you end up getting paid sort of at the end. But the interesting part of it is there aren't a lot of variable costs in the trade show business. It's mostly fixed. So once you get to that point where you covered all your expenses, it becomes very, very profitable. That's one of the reasons why mature B2B trade shows sell at such high multiples, because it's almost automatic that the companies just coming back. It's on the schedule. It's on their calendar. That's the best part about the trade show business, is that it's tough for people to get into it, but once you're into it and you get to that certain point, it becomes pretty profitable.
Where would you say this show is now in relation to that economic curve?
Well, we're in a good place. We've positioned ourselves pretty wisely. I mentioned earlier that H.A. Bruno, they've been in the industry, in the trade show business forever. They own some of the trade shows that they owned were the PC Expo. That was the software electronics show right when tech took off. And, they sold that show for, I want to say, close to $1 billion. I mean, it was the biggest sale ever. They also owned a franchise show, and they've owned a ton of shows. Ralph Iannuzzi that runs the company, I mean, he's a legend in the industry. One of his biggest strengths is his ability to sell these shows. He was the architect of the sale of PC Expo, and this guy, I mean, he's a carnivore. I mean, when it comes to selling stuff, I mean, you want him on your side.
You want him on your team.
Yeah, he's a T-Rex of sales. You would want him on your side when it comes to that. But we expect that mainstream businesses will be migrating into this industry, and when they do, they're not looking for the party. They're really looking for business. They're going to be looking for the shows in the right markets. And we have the right markets, New York, LA, Boston. And my partners have relationships with the show managers of each of those bigger companies. They've already worked with them in the past. The relationships are built. So I think that's natural for them. And I think that's what positions us so well. The other thing that positions this show is our locations. Being in New York, we have by far the most money walking through that floor. The investment community that, just wanders over.
Yeah, because they're down the street, right?
Yeah, right. Wall Street walks over, takes a look at our show. So our shows are just packed with investment dollars ready to go. Other thing is media. Same thing. They're New York, LA. We have so much media. It's just easy with the media. So I think those things really position us well for, as this industry gets to a point where mainstream businesses in America want to exhibiting at shows, I think we're positioned best to accommodate that group.
Yeah. Just going to the one last week, right? It shows the size and the scale that they can reach and get to so quickly. So there's a ton of growth opportunity. So with all of those value propositions, if you will, all of those key strengths, why are you selling, Dan?
All right. Well, before I answer that, let me do a little business first and thank one of our sponsors, Seva Enterprises, which is a full-service cannabis business development firm. Their CEO, Avis Baboulian, is one of my oldest and dearest cannabis friends. Actually met him in 2014. He was one of my speakers at my Las Vegas show. So if you're getting or applying for a license or anything in the cannabis industry, there's no one more qualified than Avis. To get information, go to Seva, SIVA, LLC.com, SivaLLC.com. All right, so back to your question. Why am I selling? Well, let's see, 2 summers ago, we let our sales manager go, and I moved to New York. I actually moved in with Ralph Iannuzzi, lived in his house, and worked there for about 6 months. We finally got a killer sales manager, Greg Marco. He worked for Ralph in H.A. Bruno for many years, and we talked him out of retirement. And this guy, he's a former athlete, great sales manager. Super good team in place. We have 4 great salespeople, Roger, Osiris, Sean, and Alan. And these guys know everybody in the industry. They've been with us for a while. Great relationships with people. My role in the company, I don't really have one anymore. I've worked myself out of a job. I'm turned into an investor. And, that's never been my role. I've never been a partner in a company. I've never been a passive investor. I've always been a hands-on, entrepreneur. And, I spent the last 5 years building this company up, basically living off my savings, and I'm ready to start something new. I'm really excited about the MJBulls podcast, and I have some big ideas, things I want to do with the show, and need the capital to do it. So I'm going to sell my shares and move on. And, my partners are looking at this as a long play. They got at least 3, probably 7, 8, 9 years left in this thing. That's not for me. I'm ready to move on. So that's my story.
Yeah, that's great. We talk to a lot of our clients, and that's one of the first things we ask is the why, right? Because it's a very personal thing, and people really have to think about, what do you want your world to look like? And if the business that you're in and the combined entity just isn't what you want it to be, don't go down that path. Look for other avenues. And so, I commend you for sure for seeing that and knowing that, you want to cash out on the value that you've built to date, but also put it in the hands of someone who, can work with these key partners and help them achieve that long-term vision and want to, have that type of role in the organization. It's always the right people, the right places, create the right results. So I think it's well-intentioned. So that's great.
Yeah, and I should mention that anybody that would buy in, all the partners would have to approve them.
Yeah.
We're a pretty tight group, and we want to make sure we bring in the right partner. But, again, I'm not ready to retire. I'm certainly not ready to sit back and watch my investments grow. I want to work, and I love this industry, and I really love this podcast. I'm having a ball doing the MJBulls podcast, and I just see all kinds of opportunity, and I can't wait to run with it. So it's time for me to move on.
Sure. Absolutely. And so to that end, you and I are working together, right? And we're going to kick the process off with this show, essentially, officially. So,
and let's make this fun. Let's do it on a podcast. That's really what I think, how this is going to play out. I have a few people already lined up that have already looked at the pitch deck. They want to come on and they want to sort of grill me on air. And which is great. That'll be fun. We'll have, if you want to be a guest on the show and talk about the deal and some of your thoughts about the deal, or give us advice on the deal, that's great too. Our information will be on our website, or you can get both Dena and me whenever you if you have
absolutely
some questions.
anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime. And in what we do, it's these conversations, Dan, that often take place kind of in the back. And so I think it's great that we're doing this on the podcast because people can really see what the process entails and the type of questions and the things people think about as a buyer evaluating an opportunity or as a seller evaluating opportunities that are coming to them and how those puzzle pieces fit together. So opening that and making it a public thing is just going to be incredibly educational for so many people, especially in this industry, because M&A is a new thing within the last couple of years. And so it's going to be exciting. I'm
really looking forward to it. Like I said, next week, we have some people already interested in talking to us next week on air. So that's going to be fun. And
yeah.
So I'll put the pitch deck on our website so anybody can take a look at it, and we'll take it from there. Again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns or criticisms, whatever, email me. It's at connect@mjbulls.com, connect@mjbulls.com. The more the community is involved with this, the more fun we'll have with it, the better ideas we'll get, and the more likely we'll get somebody to do this next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
All right.
So anything else? Do we have anything that I left out for us, Dena?
No, I think we covered it. I think we officially have kicked off, my friend. The cat's out of the bag. We're off to the races. Cat's out of the bag.
Well, we got a lot of work ahead of us, so let's get to work. We got to get this thing geared up for our next show so we have something to report back to everyone.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you. And everyone have a great week, and we will talk to you again next Sunday.